My name is Marcus Thorne. I'm 42, and the day my sister tried to have me arrested for narcotics possession was the very day I had just finished taking down the most significant fentanyl ring on the eastern seaboard. The irony was palpable as I sat in the rear of the squad car, my hands bound with a zip tie, watching my sister, Clara, pace frantically on her perfectly manicured lawn, gesticulating wildly at the police officers. 20 years of keeping my career with the Federal Narcotics Bureau, FNB, a secret to shield my family, and this is the culmination. My own flesh and blood attempting to ruin me. "He's been behaving erratically for months," Clara yelled, her voice laced with that familiar patronizing tone I had endured since we were children. Living in that rundown apartment, jobless, probably slinging drugs to get by. I found a pouch of white powder in his coat pocket. The pouch of baking soda I was using to scrub coffee spills from my surveillance vehicle. The same vehicle currently parked 3 streets over, filled with enough federal-grade monitoring gear to orchestrate a small-scale invasion. Officer Donovan eyed me with a skeptical glance. "Ma'am, we require more than just your word." "Just look at him," Clara cut in, pointing to my worn-out jeans and faded t-shirt. "Does he appear to be someone who can afford a clean lifestyle? He's 42 and has never held down a legitimate job, never brought anything to this family but shame." The second officer, a younger man whose name tag read Miller, gave me a look that could have been mistaken for empathy. I remained quiet. 20 years of undercover operations had taught me the value of silence and when to let people expose their own true colors. Clara had always been the golden child. A Wharton MBA, a tech venture that went public when she was 30. Married to a pharmaceutical executive, and living in this 8,000-square-foot testament to her achievements. Our parents had established the dynamic from our earliest days. Clara was the high flyer, the one destined for greatness. I was just the rough-and-tumble kid who had scraped through a local college and couldn't seem to keep a steady job. What they were unaware of was that I'd graduated with highest honors from MIT with a degree in organic chemistry before being fast-tracked into the FNB's elite tactical unit. What they couldn't possibly know was that my periods of unemployment were actually deep-cover missions that had taken me from the smuggling tunnels beneath Nogales to clandestine drug labs in Seattle. My seedy apartment was a necessary component of my fabricated identity. My erratic behavior was the byproduct of 18-month-long assignments that I was forbidden to discuss, even with my own family. The deception had been a necessary evil. Narcotics enforcement at my level involved credible death threats, abduction risks, and systematic retaliation against loved ones. So I had allowed them to perceive me as a failure. Their disappointment was a far better alternative than their funerals. "Marcus has always been troubled," Clara pressed on, getting into her stride. The officers were diligently taking notes. "Dropped out of his first college, couldn't maintain a job, likely has mental health problems. I mean, just look at his living situation." She had been orchestrating this for months. Ever since our father passed away and left me an equal portion of his estate, Clara had been angling for a competency hearing. She had retained attorneys, compiled proof of my instability, and now this, a calculated attempt to get me arrested so she could argue I was an unfit beneficiary. What Clara didn't know was that I had been investigating her for the past 6 months. It began with a standard financial trace on the associates of a target. Dr. Evan Riley, Clara's brother-in-law, had been tripping our system's algorithms with unusual prescription rates for opioids, stimulants, and sedatives in volumes that pointed toward illicit sales. As I delved deeper, I uncovered the link to Clara's company, a healthcare management software that was, in reality, orchestrating a network of pill mills across 3 states. My own sister was at the helm of a prescription drug trafficking operation that had led to more than 200 overdose fatalities. The proof was on an encrypted flash drive in my coat pocket, the same coat Clara insisted held illegal drugs. "I think we should bring him in," Donovan said at last. Let him sober up. Run some diagnostics. Hold on, Miller interjected, looking intently at his mobile data terminal. Sir, can you state your full name for the record? Marcus Julian Thorne. He frowned at the screen, then glanced at his partner. They moved a short distance away for a hushed discussion. Clara continued her pacing, checking her Cartier watch, likely calculating how swiftly she could have me institutionalized and file the legal challenge to the will. Miller walked back over to me. Sir, we're going to have to confirm some details. Can you present some form of identification? I gestured with my head toward my coat pocket. Federal credentials, left inner pocket. Clara let out a scoff. Federal credentials? What's he claiming now? That he's with the CIA? Miller cautiously reached into my pocket and retrieved the leather ID holder. He flipped it open, and his entire demeanor shifted. He showed it to Donovan, whose eyes went wide. Ma'am, Miller said to Clara, his tone suddenly official. You need to step away. What? Why? What's going on? Donovan was on his radio, his words quick and low. I caught bits and pieces. Federal agent, FNB. Need supervisor on site immediately. Clara's confident facade began to crumble. That's probably a fake. He could have bought that on the internet. Mrs. Hamilton, Miller interrupted, please move away from the vehicle. But he's my brother. I'm the one who called you. He's the problem here. Step away from the vehicle now. In a matter of minutes, 2 more patrol cars sped onto the scene, trailed by a black Suburban that I knew instantly. Special Agent in Charge Helena Pierce stepped out, her face a mask of grim determination. Following her were Agent Kyle Brooks from my unit and 2 U.S. Marshals. Clara was now retreating toward her house, her bluster completely gone. I don't understand what's happening. Marcus doesn't work for the government. He's unemployed. He lives in a low-income apartment. SAC Pierce approached the patrol car. Agent Thorne, are you harmed? No, ma'am, just restrained. She gave a nod to Miller, who promptly severed the zip tie. As I got out and adjusted my coat, Pierce turned to Clara. Mrs. Clara Hamilton? Yes, but I don't understand. You are under arrest for conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, managing a continuing criminal enterprise, and money laundering. You have the right to remain silent. Clara's face cycled through a stunning sequence of emotions. Confusion, denial, terror, and finally, dawning realization as the federal marshals approached with handcuffs. Marcus. Her voice was a whisper now, a stark contrast to the commanding tone she'd used to try and have me arrested. Marcus, what is this? I met her gaze for a long moment. My younger sister, who used to build pillow forts with me, who had wept when I went off to college, who had somehow twisted into a person willing to demolish lives for financial gain. I'm with the FNB, Clara, have been for 20 years, and you're the primary target of Operation Safe Harbor. Her knees buckled. She literally collapsed onto her own pristine driveway, staring up at me as if seeing me for the first time. But you're a failure. You never accomplished anything. Mom and Dad said what I needed them to say to keep you all safe. I knelt down to her level. The apartment, the unemployment, the strange hours. It was all my cover. I've spent 2 decades living a lie to protect this family from the very people I hunt. Clara's husband, Richard, appeared at the front door, then gasped when he saw the federal agents swarming his property. Their children, my nephew and niece, peeked out from behind him. The irony, I continued, rising to my feet, is that for all those years I was shielding you from drug traffickers, you were turning into one. 200 people, Clara, 200 families devastated because you wanted a larger profit margin. As the marshals helped her to her feet, Clara looked around in desperation at her mansion, her luxury vehicles, her perfect suburban empire, all of it founded on addiction and death. I didn't know, she murmured. About you, I mean. I thought, God, Marcus, I thought you were a nobody." "I know," I said plainly. "That was the entire point." They placed her in the federal transport van. Richard was on the phone, voice trembling, likely calling their high-powered attorney. The neighbors had come out to watch. Clara's perfect existence was imploding in real time, a public spectacle for everyone who had once respected and envied her. SAC Pierce came over as the convoy readied to depart. "Good work, Thorne. A clean takedown." "Thank you, ma'am. Take some time. This one was personal. Couldn't have been easy." She was right. 20 years of letting my family view me as a letdown. 20 years of missing holidays and birthdays to protect strangers from predators just like my own sister. And now this, the hollow victory of justice, delivered by the family disappointment they had never taken the time to truly see. As the vehicles drove off, I was left standing alone on Clara's immaculate street. The onlookers eventually went back inside, but I could feel their prying eyes from behind their window blinds. By the next day, the story would be everywhere. The jobless brother, who had been a source of shame for the family for decades, was, in fact, the federal agent who had brought down their golden girl. I walked the 3 blocks to my surveillance van, past the chic cafes and designer stores that had always made me feel like an outsider in my scruffy attire. Now I realized I had never been out of place. I had been precisely where I was supposed to be, doing exactly what had to be done. My phone vibrated. A text from my mother. "Just saw about Clara on the news. Please tell me you had nothing to do with it." I replied. "I was involved. I was the one who arrested her." The response was almost immediate. "What are you talking about? You don't work in law enforcement." "I've been with the FNB for 20 years, Mom. Senior special agent. I couldn't tell you due to security protocols." The 3 dots appeared and vanished several times. Finally, 20 years. Another long silence. Then, "Your father would have been so proud." I sat in my van for a long time after that, watching the sun dip below the skyline of the city I'd spent 2 decades protecting. Tomorrow, I would begin the mountain of paperwork on the most significant drug bust of my career. Tomorrow, I would have to deal with the media frenzy, the official commendations, and the unavoidable questions about investigating my own family. But for tonight, I was just Marcus Thorne, 42 years old, finally free to be the person I had always been. Someone who had dedicated his life to protecting others, even when those people thought he was worthless. The family failure had been the family's protector all along. And for the first time in 20 years, that felt like more than enough.